Okay, welcome to our latest devlog. We skipped yesterday. Had a few crucial bugs that we couldn't get rid of, so we had to postpone it to today, which is Thursday. We might change our devlog dates to Tuesdays, but for now, historically, it has been on Wednesdays, so it may still stay on Wednesdays. We'll see. We have made a few improvements to the time fast forwarding. Um, This became an issue, particularly during the tutorial, that when we want to fast forward the time so that Dave could trigger the next set of instructions. I think we are supposed to maybe see how the plant grows. So that's going to take more than a day or two. So it's going to take maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months, depending on the plant type. So I'm actually going to move forward so that we can see the planting. It's Dave. We are calling Dave. Hang up, and here's one day. See the sun's movement in the sky. We hang up, and Dave is now instructing us. So this part hasn't changed. Still shopping for the variety that we have chosen. Okay, it's 15 days. Okay, this is where I think we were seeing the delay or the normal passage of time. Basically, if you want to fast forward a day, takes a second or two, but if you want to fast forward 15 days or 16 days, that's basically 15 times 2 seconds. That's a lot of seconds. So we now have an upper limit. Let's move the date. I don't know, 2 weeks, 2 days. It's more than enough for this. And I think it's either 5 or 6 seconds as a cap. So we now have a speeding up, staying at a certain level, and slowing down. We actually move the date forward without having to wait a minute or two with the basic method. Or we could even actually try a year that will still have a cap, real-time seconds that to wait. Something here. Fine. Let's plant our tomato. I may have accidentally clicked something that is pause the game. Yeah, since we are in the middle of implementing a lot of different systems, I think I accidentally paused the game and I don't think I can. Okay, there you go. I think I just hit the speed button. So I was clicking this area which planted it. Now we have tomato seedling. Oh, I think accidentally I restart tutorial, but at this point we should wait for the to grow. Maybe let's do a month. I think every 25 days we move forward to the next phase. So we don't really have to wait too many. That's what we are trying to do. So we have a proper or a much better time fast forwarding system. We have a lot of that flicker, which might be annoying, but this is only a prototype of faster feeling time forwarding. We will take care of the visuals later. Let's do one more month. And from flowering phase, we should see the green unripe stage. Then one more month is more than enough. 25 days, I think, each stage change. There we go. Could now harvest this. I think these buttons are wrong. Sorry, these icons are wrong. The instruction is correct. It's talking about watering functionality. Let's at least test that. Give some water. Okay, that's working. And it's in a harvestable stage. At this point, yeah, use the speed buttons to wait. This is actually wrong, the message, but we are still supposed to fast forward it to see the harvestable stage. Dave at that point is going to tell us that everything okay, harvestable, that kind of thing. But I might have got in the way of the steps and something is maybe out of place. So that's the time travel stuff that we've been working on. So we have implemented or fixed a few panels, but there's a lot of room for improvement for sure. Not sure if this is actually asking us to wait long enough time. You can see some of these temperature values changing, so it's liking this spot. We have to work out the other systems too. We are currently working on a sunlight system, which will detect if this spot is sunny enough for this plant's liking, and whether the player is giving enough water too is also that too. And I think I've been really abusing this plant by providing enough water. I might have to give this plant a lot of water to push this to the healthy stage. I just the exact values. Besides this, to help us in the long run, we have been working on an interesting data structure system, and for that I have to be switching to a different branch. Let's discard our changes. So this is something very useful. However, given our timeline, since we are trying to create a demo by November, we are currently evaluating if this might be a solution to switch to at the cost of delaying the demo. It's a very useful solution. Let me first show you what it is. I don't think it's something alien to Godot developers. It's just that creating your own custom resources is not something that you do. However, in a game of this scope, I think it is essential. So I want to show you the work process. So we are creating a new resource, and normally these are the resources that most of us create. Most typically a spatial material that we end up creating this maybe from the inspector anyway, but you could also create it manually as a file, and then you end up changing its properties. If you look at existing spatial materials, either given to you by by the interface or manually created in the file system, you have a lot of groups here and a lot of properties. So this is the kind of thing we would like to implement because we have a lot of data points. Would be too long of a list to have all the properties listed from top to down. That is usually the case for most scripts. If you look at this plant here, this guy, particular problem that maybe most of us don't either see or want to admit is that, well, when we bind the data into the script itself, we are mixing things together. This is still sort of a half-finished copy, but I think you get my point that we normally start exporting or exposing variables from a script file, and then things start to look like this. We have this category here, which normally says script variables, and below this you normally have node categories listed. Instead, I would like to group all this and consider all this as a resource. So the resource is passed around instead of like the data that is attached to the scripts are kind of passed. So we have a resource feature here. This is the only exported variable perhaps, and it's using the vegetable resource, and we could actually get into this for beneficial to show. So a vegetable resource in essence is using a vegetable script, which is extending a plant resource. Let's look at the plant. In this case, this is actually the script, but this plant GD gives way to plant resource. And in the plant GD, you have everything related to the data of a plant. There is no scripting logic here, it's pure data. So if you're coming from Unity world, this is what scriptable objects are. So it's scriptable because, yeah, you could actually write script in this too, because it's a GD file. But and also, like, other script files can use this file as an object. So this is the data itself, though. Like, we don't want to mix any scripting logic here. Other game systems will work with this data object. Yeah, be more definitive in that description, because then everything is kind of an object. But by this file, we mean we have pure data. There is no business logic. There is no game logic, game condition, player condition, none of that. It's just pure data. And the way um, some internal functions are triggered and used also is allowing you to create these groups. And then, of course, you could expose some high level things that are not particularly groupable. But this is a handy way to organize your information instead of having this all listed in one place. But also, inheritance is very easy. So between the vegetable resource, which is here, and the plant resource, which is here, really the only difference is the Boolean value that's coming in resource, because that's really the only difference. Plant GD has most of the variables, and then vegetable has everything the plant has except maybe on top of that just this custom variable. So extending is quite easy, um, and you could create copies of these resources and pass them around. That's exactly what we need in this game, that we will have multiple tomato plants. Then each, well, by that I don't mean copy of the same exact plant, but different varieties of tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, and different kinds of tomatoes. And each one of those kinds will have different needs of sunlight, fertilizer, and other properties. So this is a nice way to differentiate it, but the data structure is not changing, and it's not bound to any script. So the two files, the script file and the data file, can go forwards at a different pace. So we are definitely utilize this system. So again, the uncertainty is in the timeline, whether we implement this current timeline or we investigate this fully after November. So that is yet to be seen. And I think that covers 1 week's process. So there has been a lot of research and development. Maybe not enough visual material to show, but sometimes it goes like that. On that note, I think I'm finishing here, and see you on the next one.